तो टूटे हम नींद से. Are we live here as Mortius X3? Okay, let me check. I don't want any disturbance in the voice. I think the voice is clear. Yeah, so now let's start. Everything looks good. Voice is also clear. Let's go. So now we already did the test. We took the test and we passed with decent marks. 19 out of 20 is not that bad. So we needed at least 18 correct answers out of 20 and we did complete it. So now what we are going to do is we are gonna build an event hub here. In this lab you will build an event hub and review semantic elements like header, nav, article and more. Let's build it. We already built the video comparison page, so we don't need this. Okay. Okay. Let's give everything a good amount of space. Yeah, everything looks good. Now build an event hub, build an app that functionally similar to this example project. Try not to copy the example. Okay. This lab will utilize the semantic elements of creators. Okay. User stories. You have to have a header element. Inside the header element you have h1 element that contains text, this, and nav element and a nav element. Inside the nav element you have another list. So first of all we have a header element here, head. We have a header element. Okay. So inside the body, so we start with the header and we close the header. So we have the header here. Now inside the header the instructions are to add a h1 element. So we do that, added an h1 element. Inside the h1 element it contains the text event hub. So h1 contains this, so let's copy this, is it here, and a nav element. So it also have a nav element. So I'm gonna do nav and nav. So I'm gonna close it. For now you have an unordered list of 2 items containing links to different section of the page. The first item have the text upcoming and okay. So inside the nav element I think we have an unordered list. So unordered list, first of all let's break this and let's break from here also. So inside the nav we have an unordered list. So unordered list look like this. We close the unordered list. Inside the unordered list we have list, so li slash li. We have actually 2 items containing the link of different section of the page. So this text, so just copy this, paste. I'm just going to copy this and paste it here. So we have 2 lists. So and the second item will have the text this. So I'm just going to copy. I'm just going to paste here. Okay, upcoming events and past events. There are 2 events here. Okay, everything looks good. Each link should be represented by an A element, an href. Okay, so we have to wrap this. So this is basically, this is link. Wait a minute. Okay, okay. Huh. So we have to wrap this. This is a list, so we have to wrap this inside an anchor tag. So anchor, close the anchor, close the anchor here, and we have to do same for that also. But first of all, we have to add the link. So we are adding it. So this link will take us to upcoming events section. To do that, we just have to add hashtag upcoming events. This. So I'm just going to copy this, paste it here. So we have upcoming events section here, and if we click, it will take us to the upcoming event section in our web page. That's it. Now let's go. We have the past event. So to do it, what we have to do is, first of all, let's break this. Break. Yeah, looks good. Then I'm just gonna copy this. Just gonna paste it here inside our list, and I'm just gonna change the upcoming events, the reference of this, to past events here. Just I'm gonna copy, then I'm gonna paste it here, and this is past events. So I'm just gonna change this to past events. So now everything looks good. Now if we click on this, it will redirect us to the page, the section of the page where we contain all the past events. And if we click on this will redirect us to the page where the upcoming event section is there, all the stuff related to this stuff. Now what we do is, inside the main element you have two section elements. Okay, you should have a main element contains different sections. Wait a minute. So I think outside the header, the main element exists. So a main element here. So inside the main element, what we have to do is, you have two sections. So obviously one for upcoming events and one for the past events. So just add the sections. I'm just going to copy this and paste this once again. Copy this, paste. So inside our main tag, we have two events. First section, we have so the first section, inside the main element, you have two section elements. So inside the main, we have two section elements. The first section element should have an ID attribute. Okay, so it has an ID attribute. ID equals this. I'm just going to copy this, paste it here. This upcoming events. Okay, inside the upcoming event section, you have an h2 with the text this. So inside this element, we have an h2. Just close it, and h2 will contain the upcoming events text. So I'm just going to copy this, paste it here. Now two article elements, each article should represent an event it should have. Okay, so it has two article elements also. So I'm gonna article, close the article, I'm just going to close it here. And now we have to just copy this and paste it once again. Each article will represent an event and it should have an H3. So this articles will represent two events. So both of them will have an S3. So I'm just gonna make an S3 here. Okay, I'm just gonna copy this, paste it here. A P for, okay, so we have S3, so we have a P also. P slash P. Okay, just gonna P and stuff. I'm just gonna copy this, paste it here. Okay. Okay. So we have to actually fill the S3 and articles by ourselves, so we don't have any idea. So let's get creative here. So here it says that upcoming events and articles. So let's say header, let's say hmm, hmm, let's do anything like Roy's birthday. Birthday. Roy's birthday. Okay. Roy's birthday. And we have a paragraph to write here. Okay, that's fucked up. Let's just copy this. I don't want to write a paragraph. I'm just gonna copy this. I'm just gonna copy. I'm just gonna copy this from here to here. Copy. I'm just gonna paste. So we made it here. We have two articles, and in each article we have a paragraph, S3 for the title. The second section here, okay, should have an ID attribute also. So ID attribute, and the second section will contain the past events. So this will contain this. So copy this, paste this. So let's say if I click this, okay, the page is not that big, so it doesn't matter. If we added like tons of paragraph here, then we see it in then we can see it in action maybe. So past event section. Now in this section we have an H2. So we have an H2 here. I'm just going to copy. Go here, press enter, paste it, and we have the past events. So past events like this. I'm just going to copy, and I'm just going to paste it here. Okay, just paste it here. Yeah. Now, okay, this is capitalized, and this is also capitalized. So past events. Yeah, everything looks good. Now two articles containing blah blah blah. So it is basically same. So I can just copy here. So I'm just going to copy the two articles from the section 1. I'm just going to paste it after the H2 header. I'm going to paste it. Now S3 header, okay, and image element, okay, two article elements, each element, okay, two article element, okay, and after we have paragraphs. In each article element we have paragraph, okay, and image elements with source and alt, okay. You can use any text from the event description, dates, and following URLs. What is this? This is JPG. Okay, I'm just gonna add a image here. So for to do that, just img src equals this and that, and inside that I'm just gonna copy that and pasty that, and also alt equals img hi, not img, and that is it. So I'm just gonna close it here. I closed it. Now I'm just gonna copy and paste it inside this after paragraph. Now we have two of the images here. I'm just gonna remove and copy this link. Let's see what is the image. I'm gonna paste it. Okay, so this image is a little bit bigger. Not that bad. Okay. Okay, we have multiple errors here. Okay, what are the errors? Let's see. We close the section. Did we close the main? Yes, we closed. Body closed. HTML closed. Second, your nav element should contain an unordered list of two items. The nav. Here. Oh, unordered list. So, oh, sorry. It should be unordered. UL. Okay, one corrected. The first item should be a link. The first item in unordered list should be a link. The first item. It is a link, bro. It is a link. Second is also a link. Let's run this again. Everything is good. Now this is inside the main element. You should have two section elements. Okay, inside the main element here we have section here and section closed, section here. Okay, section closed. We have two elements, bro. We have two sections. Sections. Oh my god, why did I do that? Not sections, bro. Section. It is also, sections is also element in HTML, so I confused because it didn't throw any syntax error. Oh, that's bad. Okay, it should be okay. Everything is good. Okay, we didn't go too creative. We don't have to. We just built it. We were flawless. Not flawless, but now before you quiz the semantic elements, you first need to review the concepts. Okay, once on this page, review the M, strong, backquote, address, more semantic. Let's review. Importance of semantic element. A structural hierarchy for heading elements. It is important to use the correct heading elements to maintain the structural hierarchy of the content. The H1 element is the highest level of heading and the H6 element is the lowest level of heading. Presentational HTML elements that define the appearance of the context. EX, the deprecated center big font elements. Yeah, we know that the H1 is the H1 to H6, the header hierarchy, the highest precedence is given to H1 here. And this is presentational HTML elements, the center big font. This actually helps us to decorate the font, make the font bigger, centralize the font horizontally or vertically. This is basically presentational HTML elements. Now, semantic HTML elements, elements that hold meaning and structure like header, nav, figure. These are the semantic HTML elements. Semantic means some kind of meaning, which holds some kind of meaning in a language. That's semantic. Semantic HTML elements. Header element is used to define the header of a document section. Main element is used to contain the main content of a web page. Navigation section. Nav element represents a section with navigation links. Figure element is used to contain the illustrations and diagrams. Emphasis EM element marks the text that has stress emphasis. Okay. Let me check the audio quality first. Everything fine? Okay. So, this is the paragraph element code here, and we emphasize the your here. So, your will be uh, italicized, what we call, or will be written in italic font. Idiomatic text I element is used for highlighting alternative voice or mood. Idiomatic term for another language, technical terms and thoughts. Okay, so basically if we use I here, so this does the same thing as EM, but it is just used for a different context. It is basically used to highlight all alternative voice or mood or idiomatic terms like another language technical terms, for example. So this is French, so I lang is equal to FR, so this will not affect the look of this font in the, if we see it in the browser, but it basically does the thing. Okay, we are back. My mic is not clear. My voice is also not clear. It is just when I'm speaking, my voice is also producing some kind of sound, which is very weird. But and this is very not audible actually. Okay, ignoring that, the lang attribute inside the OpenI tag is used to specify the language of the content. In this case, the language would be French. The I element does not indicate if the text is important or not, but it only shows that it is somehow different from the surrounding text. Strong importance. So strong basically makes the word bold. So it is why it is used. It is used for to give the word a strong importance. So here warning is given the strong importance, and it will be shown in bold font in the browser. Bring attention to. B. This tag is known as bring attention to element. This element is basically used when it's commonly used for highlighting keywords and summaries of the product name in reviews. For example, so we wanted to test several products including this. So this is the name of the product. So we highlighted it with the example of bring importance to element. Okay. Description list DL element is used to represent a list of term description groupings. Description term DT element is used to represent the term being defined. Description details DD element is used to represent the description of the term. For example, DL description list. The description list has DT, which is basically the description term, I guess. Yeah, description term. Yeah, I'm blind basically. So DL is description list, and inside this list we have two more elements, namely description terms and description details. The description term is basically used to represent the term which is being defined here. So we are going to define this, and the definition is written in the DD, which is the description details. So this is how description list works. Block quotation. Block quote element is used to represent a section that is quoted from another source. The element has a site attribute. The value of site attribute is URL of the source. So if we quoted someone's work here, so we can give them what we can say, like for this we basically give the source here from where we have taken this text. Citation. Cite element is used to attribute the source of the referenced work visually, marks up the title of the reference. So here, for example, block quote cite is equal to this, and this is the quote here, and here if we wrap it inside a div, then we have the block quote cite. This is the link reference, then this is the quote, and when we basically end this block quote cite, then we have paragraph. Inside the paragraph we have this Quincy Larson site, how to learn to code and get developer job, full book, site closed, paragraph closed, it closed. Inline quotation is used to represent a short inline quotation. Inline quotation Q is basically this Q element is known as the inline quotation element, and this is basically what we use to represent a short inline quotation. For example, if we have like short inline quotation and we have a long inline quotation, then we use block quote, and if we have just a short inline quotation, we use a inline quotation mark, just Q. So this is very short text, so we use inline quotation. Abbreviation. ABBR element is used to represent the abbreviation or acronym to help the user understand what the abbreviation acronym is. You can also show it in full form, a human readable description with the title attribute. P, paragraph, paragraph close, ABBR title, hypertext markup language, HTML, ABBR. So here, if you use HTML somewhere in our web page, and HTML is an abbreviation for hypertext markup language. So if we want the user to know what the full form of this is, so we can add the ABBR title here. If we hover over this HTML, it will basically show us the full form here in the tooltip. So like if we hover over the HTML, it will basically show us the hypertext markup language in the tooltip. Contact address element is used to represent the contact information. Date time element is used to represent date time of the date time. Attribute is used to translate the date time of the into a machine readable format. So contact address, basically address element, is used to represent the contact information. Date time element is used to represent the date or time, and the date time attribute is used to translate the date and time. Okay. So basically, if you want to add the date and time to any of the paragraphs, we can use this. Contact address element is used to represent the contact information, and if you want to add the date and time, so we can use time element. The date time is basically attribute used to translate the dates and machine. Okay. For example, if we see this paragraph here, the reservation are for the time. Now time has the attribute date time. Now date time will tell in like international format. So this is basically the time here, and this is the text here and time here. Okay. The ISO 8601 date time attribute used to represent dates and time in a machine readable format. The standard form is this: year, then month, then date. Then this T basically separates year and month and date from hour, minute and seconds. A capital T being the separator between the date and time. Superscript sub element is used to represent superscript text. Common use case for the super element would be to include exponents. Superior letter. Basically if we want to use a mathematical term like exponents inside our HTML, we can show it with the help of SUP. And if you want to write CO2 like a chemical formula or a chemical representation of CO2 carbon dioxide, then we can use the SUB. So here it is shown here in the paragraph CO2. So this 2 will be shorter and will be like below the baseline, and this will be above the baseline if we use SUP. Inline code element used to represent a fragment of computer code. Pre-formatted text. Pre element represents the perform text. Pre-code body, and this basically if you want to add a code inside our HTML, we can use the code here, code tag here. So this will tell the browser that this is actually a code. So and format will be also not changed. So this format and spaces are also given like same importance. So this will be shown as it is inside the code on the browser. Unarticulated annotation, U element, used to represent a span or of inline text which should be rendered in a way that indicates that it has no non-textual annotation. Unarticulated. Okay. Basically, if you use this U element here, so if we have a paragraph, you can use the unarticulated annotation element to highlight. U is unarticulated annotation. Then you change, then you change, then you, and you close. Now why we use this? Basically we use this when we know that there is basically mistake writing this. So this is incorrect. The spelling is, we have a spelling mistake. So we can use this to basically highlight that. It basically if you use this element, it is basically add a underline on the element. Basically it will represent us this element of the browser with an underline. Now Ruby annotation is we have a specific use for this, very specific use. Basically, it explains the Eastern Asian topography. So if something is written in like this is, we wrap it inside the Ruby, and the RP here will tell us what is the pronunciation of this in English. So this is written in Japanese, but we don't know how to pronounce it. So this is the pronunciation in English. Asita. This is Asita. Okay. Asita. Good. Now we have strike through as element used to represent content that is no longer articulate or relevant. Strike through. How to use it? P close, P close. Now we have S. Tomorrow's hike will be meeting at noon. Okay. Now why we use this strike through element? Yeah, we use this element when we cancel some stuff. So this is no longer accurate. Yeah, this is basically wrong. So it will just cut this sentence with a line. If we want to represent this, tomorrow hike will be meeting at noon. And if the meeting is cancelled, so we wrap this text with S attribute. Now this will be shown on the browser with a cut of it should be basically cut by a straight line. Now we have reviewed this, let's submit it. Now we have to take the test, and if we pass, then we are good to go. Now let's take the test. Where the text? Here the text. Let's take the test. Now, what is pre-sensational HTML? Pre-sensational HTML use element to control appearance rather than its meaning. Pre-sensational HTML uses elements to control the appearance of the content rather than its meaning. Pre-sensational HTML used to embedding multimedia. Now, pre-sensational HTML determines the website overall layout, navigation. Pre-sensational controls the data. I think this is the correct answer. What is the role of pre element? Pre. Okay. So this is used to convey the serious or strong importance. No. It is used to display an indicator showing the completion of progress task. Of course not. Pre-formatted text. Yeah, it represents pre-formatted text. What is the role of H1? It groups the multiple heading on. It serves as a container. No, it defines the main heading of the web page. True. Indicating its primary topic. Yeah. What is the role of address element? It formats. No, it is used to represent a context, and yes, this is true. Which of the following element holds no semantic meaning? No semantic meaning. Div. Which of the following element is used to represent a specific moment in time? A specific moment in time, use time maybe. Yeah, specific moment in time, I don't know. This should not be that easy. Maybe the answer is INS. Who knows? Let's skip it. What is the use of Ruby element? So it is basically, it is used to show the pronunciation of the East Indian characters. Which element is used to highlight keywords in summaries? Product name. We use the B, bring focus to, or bring focus to, bring emphasis to, maybe. What is the role of U element? U element. It creates the drop down, it is used to represent non-textual, it is U. Does it underline? Yeah, should be the answer. Which of the following element is used to represent an extended quotation? Extended quotation. Block quote, if we use the extended quotation. not sub, not text area, not article. Which of the following element is used to provide description or definition of the term inside the description list? Provide description or definition for the term inside the description list. Description or definition of term. So DD is used. Which of the following element is typically used to code? So it basically what? The code element. Code element. What do we use? Which attribute we use with the code element? Pre maybe. Which of the following attribute is used to translate date and time? Of course, this. Which of the why it is important to not skip heading levels? No. Skipping heading levels can confuse screen readers and hide the content accessibility. Disturb the logical content hierarchy. This is the correct answer. Which of the following is deprecated presentational HTML element? Font is no longer in use. We don't use this. Which of the following element is used to represent navigational links? Nav. Which of the following element represents a description term inside a description list? Description term, DT. Which of the following role of I element? It is used to provide a caption or legend or no. It is used to represent idiomatic textual. Yeah, I think this is the correct answer. It is used to represent the idiomatic text, technical terms and taxonomical designations. Which of the following element is used to emphasize text? EM. Which of the following attribute is used to specify the source of the reference quoted element's backquote? Is used to specify the source or reference of the quote content for backquote, block quote, not black. Okay. Cite. If you want to add the reference, you use cite. Finish. Yes. We passed. We have 20 out of 20 correct. Nice. We actually did it. We have all correct. Now we can hop on to forms and tables now. Now we have to attend some lectures here. There are only 4 lectures, so let's start. How do form, labels and input work in HTML?
How do forms, labels and inputs work in HTML? The form element in HTML is used to gather user information, such as names and email addresses. Here is an example of a form element. The action attribute specifies where the form data will be sent upon submission. To collect specific information, like names and email addresses, you would use the input element. Here is an example of using an input element. Input elements are void elements and do not have closing tags. The type attribute defines the data type expected from the user. In this case, the data would be plain text. To add a label for the input, you would use a label element. Here is an example of using a label element with the text of full name. By nesting an input inside a label element, you create an implicit association between the label and the input field. The term implicit refers to something that is understood or inferred without needing to be explicitly stated or defined with additional attributes or elements. To explicitly associate a label with an input, you can use the for attribute. Here is an example of using the for attribute for an email address label. When using an explicit association, the values for the for attribute and ID need to be the same. In this case, the values are both set to email. The email type in the input provides a basic validation for correctly formatted email addresses. If you want to show additional hints to the users about the expected input, you can use the placeholder attribute. Here is an example using the placeholder attribute inside the email input. For the placeholder text, you want to provide helpful short text to show the format and type of data you expect from your users. In this case, the placeholder text, example, @email.com, shows the user that they must enter a correctly formatted email address. Or defined an implicit association between the attribute specifies where the form data will be sent upon. Example of using an input element. Input elements are in this case the element with the text of
okay, the label element here. Okay, we'll have a full name, and after this full name we have an input field. So okay, now I understand it.
full name. By
do we
nesting an
have
input
something-
inside a label would be plain text element. Here is an example of using a label element with the text of full name. By nesting an input inside a label element, you create an implicit association between. The term implicit refers to something that is understood or inferred without needing to be explicitly stated or defined with additional attributes or elements. To
Okay.
explicitly associate a label with an input, you can use the for attribute. Here is an example of using the for attribute for an email address label. When using an explicit association, the values for the for attribute and ID need to be the same. In this case, the values are both set to email. The email type in the input provides a basic validation for correctly formatted email addresses. If you want to show additional hints to the users about the expected input, you can use the placeholder attribute. Here is an example using the placeholder attribute inside the email input. For the placeholder text, you want to provide helpful short text to show the format and type of data you expect from your users.
So basically what happens here is we basically defined a form here, and inside the form there is a label for email. An email address will be shown as the label, and this for here will specify what is the label is for. So this is for email. Now after the label we have an input field which will take email. So type is email, which means that it will take the email in correct format. So, and if we want to show the user what is the correct format, we use the placeholder here. So placeholder will actually contain the correct format for the email. So example @email.com is the correct format for that email. If we don't use this format, or if we it will not take email as the input. So it will be, yeah. So that's the reason.
Placeholder text, example, @email.com, shows the user that they must enter a correctly formatted email address.
Okay, that's good. Okay, so what?
How do forms, labels, and inputs additional hints to the user helpful short text?
Yeah, so now we have to do the MCQ. What is the role of the for attribute inside the label? It indicates the color. No, it is used to explicitly associate the label of the input. Implicit. Implicit. It specifies the alignment of the label. It defines the JavaScript. No, it is a it specifies the alignment of the label within the. It is basically it is used to explicitly associate a label with an input. Which of the following is the correct value of for the type attribute used inside input? Choice, text box, text. What is the role of placeholder attribute inside the input? It is used to provide the hint of an example within the input field. True. Correct. Let's go ahead. 25% completed. Okay. What are the different types of buttons and when should you use them?
What are the different types of buttons and when should you use them? The button element is used to perform a particular action when it is activated. Here is an example of a button element with the button text of Start Game. Other examples of using the button element include submitting a form, showing a modal, or toggling a side menu open and closed. The button element has a type attribute, which controls the behavior of the button when it is activated. The first possible value for the type attribute would be the button type. Here is an example of using the button element with the button type and a text of Show Alert. By default, the button will not do anything when activated. However, you can add some JavaScript code to make the button interactive, such as showing an alert in this case. Another possible value for the type attribute is the submit value. Here is an example of using a button element with the submit type. Inside this form element, there is a label and input element for the user's email address. When the user clicks on the submit button, their data will be sent to the server and will be processed. The third possible value for the type attribute is the reset attribute. Here is an example of a form element with the reset and submit buttons. In this modified example, a label and input element are used to collect the user's email address. When the user clicks on the reset button, then it will clear out all of their input data. It is important to note that reset buttons are usually not the best idea because they could lead to users accidentally resetting their data. Also, multiple buttons in your form could clutter up the user interface. Another way to create buttons in HTML is to use the input element. The input element also has a type attribute with the possible values of submit, reset, and button. Here is an example of using the input element with the type set to button. The value attribute is used to show the button text. So what is the difference between using the input and button elements? Input elements are void elements, which means that they cannot have child nodes, such as text, and can only have a start tag. On the other hand, the button element offers more flexibility because you can nest text, images, and icons inside it.
Okay. Which of the following is not a valid value for the type attribute in the buttons? Source is not a valid, obviously. Yeah. We can use type equals to button, reset, submit. Can we use type equals button? Type equals submit is true, type equals reset is true, type equals button is, I don't know, maybe it's true. What is the role of type reset? It is basically resets the form basically. What is another element you can use to represent a button? Input element, check, 50% complete, 2 more to go. What is a client side form validation HTML form and what are them? Okay.
What is client-side form validation in HTML forms and what are some examples? When a user fills out a form on your website, it is important that they fill out all of the necessary information in the correct format. HTML form controls, like inputs, have a lot of built-in validation that you can use to check for invalid data. This will help ensure that the user fixes these mistakes before the information is submitted and processed by the server. The term client-side refers to everything that happens on the user's computer or device, like the part of a website or app you interact with directly. This includes the layout, design, and any interactive features. The term server-side refers to everything that happens on the server, the computer or system that hosts the website or app. This includes processing data, running applications, and handling requests that come from the user's device. While client-side validation is important, you also need server-side validation for added security. Malicious users can bypass client-side checks, so robust server-side measures are essential. You'll learn more about this in a later module. For now, let's take a look at some examples of client-side form validation. One common example of built-in form validation is to use the required attribute in inputs. The required attribute specifies that the user needs to fill out that portion of the form before it gets submitted. Here is an example of using the required attribute in an email input. When the user clicks on the Submit Form button without supplying an email address, they will be alerted that the field is required and the form will not be submitted. Here is a screenshot of that behavior. Each browser will have its own set of styles for showing this alert message. Another advantage of using the email input is that email inputs have some basic validation to ensure correctly formatted email addresses. Here is an example of what happens if you don't provide a valid email with the @ sign. As you can see in the screenshot, if you type in random words and click submit, then out all of the necessary information in the correct format. Used to check mistakes on computer or device, like
Everything that happens on the user's computer or device is client side, okay?
the part of a website or app features. The term
Server
website or
side,
app
everything that happens on the server, okay?
also needs server-side validation for added security. Malicious users can bypass client-side checks, so robust server-side measures are essential. You'll learn more about this in a later module. For now, let's take a look at some examples of client-side form validation. One common example of built-in form validation is to use the required attribute in inputs. The required attribute specifies that the user needs to fill out that portion of the form before it gets submitted. Here is an example of using the required attribute in an email input. When the user clicks on the Submit Form button without supplying an email address, they will be alerted that the field is required and the form will not be submitted. Here is a screenshot of that behavior. Each browser will have its own set of styles for showing this alert message. Another advantage of using the email input is that email inputs have some basic validation to ensure correctly formatted email addresses. Here is an example of what happens if you don't provide a valid email with the @ sign. As you can see in the screenshot, if you type in random words and click submit, then the browser will show an alert that an @ sign is missing. It is important to note that browsers only check for basic validation for standard email addresses. It is up to you to add additional layers of validation, which you will learn about in later modules. Other forms of validation for email inputs are to use the min length and max length attributes. Here is an example using the extra validation. The min length and max length attributes are used to set the minimum and maximum length in characters for the email input. If you don't include the minimum length or exceed the max length of characters, the browser will show an alert message as seen here.
Okay. What is the purpose of min length and max length attribute inside input? They are used to control the font size of the text inside the input field. They are used to set minimum and maximum length in characters for the input. They are used to define width of input field on the page. They are used to specify the maximum. Okay. Okay. Which attribute is used to ensure that the input field is marked required? Is required. What happens if you try to submit a value of this sign for the email? Yeah. Last video. What is the difference between?
What are the different form states and why are they important? In HTML, form controls like inputs can be in different stages or conditions, like a focus state, read-only state, or disabled state. The first state would be considered the default state. Here is an example of default state for an email address. That is what the email input looks like when it is first rendered on the page. At this point, the user has not input any information. When the user clicks on a form control or selects it with the keyword's tab key, then that means it is in the focus state. Here is an example of that same input in a focused state. Most browsers will show a blue highlighted border around the input, but you can choose to add additional styles in CSS. Another form state is the disabled state. This state shows users that an input cannot be focused or activated. To disable an input, you can add the disabled Boolean attribute to the element, like this. If the user tries to click on the input, then the focus will not be enabled. Similar to the focus state, you can choose to add additional styles for the disabled state using CSS. Another type of form state is the read-only state. This is when a form control, like an input, is not editable by the user. Here is an example of setting an email input to read only. The value attribute is used to set the value shown inside the input field, like this. If you tried to click on the input, you would not be able to edit the existing value. A key difference between the disabled state and read-only state is that read-only can be focused, while the disabled state cannot. Understanding the different form states is important because they ensure a smooth user experience by providing clear feedback and guidance while handling errors.
What are the different form and state and why they are important? Which attribute is used to disable an input? Disabled. Which attribute is used to mark an input read only? Was read only. When does the focus state occur? When an input field is disabled and cannot know. When an input field is valid should not know. When a user clicks on input and select it using the tab key focus it. Okay. Build a hotel feedback form. Should we start it? Let's start. So this is the preview. Hotel feedback staying with us. Please provide feedback on. Okay. Personal information required this. Was this your first time in the hotel? Did you choose to stay? Excellent. This is the comment for this. Yeah, this looks very good. Okay. First start. Okay, so let's start coding this. So first of all, doc type HTML. I'm just gonna copy this, paste it here, and after this I'm gonna start HTML. Now inside HTML we have the lang attribute equals en, because for English. Inside your HTML we have a head also, so head, and we close the head. Okay, and inside the head we have, I think that's it. I think let's close the HTML. So Yeah, looks good. Congratulations. Submit. Let's go ahead. What? Why the fuck it is not working? Okay, now it worked. Okay. Inside the head element, we have a meta element character set this. Below the meta element, we have the title element. Okay. Inside the element, we have meta character set equals to 8, UTF-8. Inside this, we have the title also, so close it. Okay, the title is closed. Now we have to just input the hotel feedback form. We're going to copy this, paste it here. Check. Congratulations. Let's go ahead. To prepare to create some actual content, add a body, of course, inside after the head. So I'm going to just add a body. Why I am always adding a baddie? I should add a body. Body. I am dumb. Body. Okay. Did it. Let's go ahead. Okay. Here we go again. Remove interruptions. Remove your skills. Remove everything in the game. Help millions of people to learn. And this bear is flying. Okay. Now what we have to do is add a header. Inside the header we have h1. H1 elements is this. Below the h1 we have paragraph. Paragraph will contain this. So first of all we have the header. So let's add header. Header, not feather. Header. Inside the header, we have the h1, h1 closed, and inside the h1 we have copy, paste it here, paragraph closed. Inside the paragraph we have this. I'm just going to copy this, I'm going to paste this. Everything looks goody. Let's submit this. Submit ho ja. Okay, now it's time to add the main section. Main main slash main. So easy. In previous lecture video, you have learned how to work with form elements. So now, for example, this is the form here. The action attribute is used to specify the where should be the form is sent when it is submitted. The method attribute is specifying the HTTP method. The common method are get and post. Now you will learn about HTTP methods in the later modules. Now inside the main element, add a form with action to this. So I'm just going to copy this, just paste it here, and the method here is going to be post, not past, post. Okay. Okay, so this should be capitalized, so that's good. Now we have the method is post and action will be this. Just copy, paste, and is it inside the main element? Let me check. Yeah. Submit. Okay, form consists of inputs where the user can input their data. You can group related inputs together using the field set element. Here's an example of field set element. Okay, field set is here. So we can group these. Okay, so I can just copy this and I can just paste it here. Okay, and uh, you can group related inputs together with field set element. Here is field set element. Inside your form, add a field set element. We already did. Let's submit and hop on to the next code. When working with field set, oh, this is the field. Okay, so this represents the field set. And when working with field set element, it's common to use caption to describe the group of inputs. You can use the legend, okay, element for this. Here is example of the legend element. Field set legend personal information. So inside the field set, add a legend element and personal information. So basically the same thing. Why should I write this? So just copy and paste, bro. Yeah, this looks very cool. Submit, bro. Let's submit it and go ahead. Okay, in the previous lecture you have learned about the label element with an input like this. Label for name, and name is labeled this, and input type is text, and id name is this, and name is this. Okay, for attribute, label element should match the id attribute on the input element. This is known as the explicit association. Below the legend element, add a label element with the text of the name required set for attribute full name, and for the label element, add an input element with no attributes, and this next step you will add a necessary attribute. So here below your legend here, okay, add label. So this is label. I'm just going to copy this, copy, I'm just going to paste it. After this I'm going to paste. So we have the label and the text of the name required, and with the element label element and with the text of name required. Okay, maybe I'm just going to copy this, paste it. Okay, and for set it for the attribute of full name. Okay, attribute is for full name, so name is for full name. Okay, so I'm just going to copy this, the attribute is for full name, so I'm going to paste it here. Everything looks good. And below your label element, add an input element with no attributes. Okay, so it shouldn't be that tough. So we have an input element with no attributes here, so just check, passes. Okay, let's hop on to the another section. When user provides their full name, the input will be accepted as a plain text. In the previous lecture videos you have learned how to work with the type attribute. Okay, I have learned it. Input type text. For existing input elements, add a type attribute to set it to text. Also give input element id attribute and value of the full name. Okay, so I just basically removed all that stuff, and I have to actually, oh, okay, that's fucked up. I'm just going to copy this and paste it here. So we have a type of text, and also give it input id, input element id attribute full name. Okay, so id is equals to full name, copy this, paste this, and add a type attribute. So there is a type attribute text, also give input element, input, 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 input. Okay, so this should be it. By the power of Grayskull. This site is going nuts. Okay, the name attribute is used to identify form data after it has been submitted to the server. Here's an example of how to use the name attribute. Name type equals to email and name is equal to email. Add a name attribute to the input and name. Okay, so name attribute. So let's name it here. Name, name equals name, name. Clear? Let's go ahead. In the previous lecture videos, you have learned how to work with the placeholder and required attribute like this. So yeah, we have already learned about this. Now for the existing input element, we have to add a placeholder attribute and the value of this. Okay, it's also required attribute input. Okay, so we just have to add a placeholder. So placeholder, the placeholder is just x.John Doe. Okay, yeah, what the hell is this? Add a required attribute. Oh, okay, we have to also add a required attribute. So required, required. Congratulations, you passed. Now we submit it. Your hotel feedback form should also collect the email address from the user. Start by adding a label, okay, element with the email address required to the form, and also your label should have a for attribute set to the value of the email. Okay, so label, I'm just gonna copy this. I'm not gonna just copy. Where is the label here? Yeah, I'm just gonna copy this, paste it here, and here we are just gonna replace the text with this. Okay, yeah, so I'm just gonna add a space here. That doesn't do anything. Okay, no problem. So the label and inside the file it is email. So I'm just gonna copy this and replace the full name with email. Congratulations. Let's go hop on to another one. Add an input field to the email by below, and also do this though. So I'm just going to copy this, paste it here. Now we have an input field for the email. Now what we have to do is actually label. This input should have an ID attribute of the email. So ID attribute here, it is going to be email. So email, also set a name attribute to email. So the name is also going to be email, email. And this input also requires to make the so. No, okay, we also have to, required is already added. So finally add a placeholder, and this will be the placeholder's text. I'm just going to copy this, the X, I'm going to paste it here, and that's how we do it. Sorry, your input element should have a type of the email. Oh, I'm just stupid. email. Good to go. Okay, the input element can have size attribute. This attribute defines the number of characters that should be visible as the user types into the input. The user of the size should not be non-negative integer greater than 0 if the size is not specified or is specified with the invalid value. The input will have a default with set as a brown. Okay, so here for this label, the last name, the input id is last name and the name is last name, type this size 10. So this is the maximum size and the minimum size required into if we want to fill the input field here. So in input field is strictly basically that you have to fill 10 characters or 10 numbers or something like that. So here we have to give the name, the size and the 20. Okay, email, for email here, this is the input field. Okay, now we have to give it the size attribute. So I'm just going to copy this, I'm just going to paste it here, and also the size should be 20. So I'm just going to 20 this, check. You should give the input size attribute, input, email size. But oh, I didn't give the name attribute the size. So we'll copy this. We have to give the name attribute the size as well. Paste it. So now it should be good to go. Let's hop on to the another. Let's go. Your hotel feedback form should have an option for users to add their age by starting the label. Okay, now I have a label here. Let's copy this. Now for age, so just copy and paste it here. This label is for age and this will contain this text. So copy this, paste it here, paste, and everything looks good. Copy. Congratulations. Next code. Okay. Input type number, ID, age, name, age, min 18 and max 100. So here we define the minimum length required and maximum length. We can input the text here. So min max attributes are used to set the minimum and the maximum values that we can enter in the input field. Below your label element, add an input type attribute set to number and ID of age. Okay, the name attribute should be set to age and the min attribute should be set to 3 and the max attribute should be set to 100. How this works is, so it says the below our label here. Okay, we have to type we have to add an input. Okay, so basically I'm just going to copy this, copy, paste. We have an input field here. Inside the input field it says that the type should be number. It always is number. ID has age, it always is age. The name should be age, it is that. Min value should be 3, so I'm just going to have to 3, no 33, and the max should be 100. Correct. Let's go. Okay, the next section in the form will be responsible for asking user if they have stayed in the hotel before. Okay, start by adding field set element. So field set element. Okay, field set, we added the field set element. Inside the field set element, add a legend. Of course we have to add a legend. Legendary. Inside the legend, was this your first time in our hotel? Let's copy this. Yeah, this looks really good. Now let's copy, just check. Yeah, our code passes. So again become a supporter. Remove the fucking interruptions, acquire the fucking skills, and become a fucking genius in HTML and CSS and everything. And this beer goes away. Yeah, fuck off. Okay. Uh, in this example, the radio buttons are grouped together using the same name attribute value. This means the only one radio button can be selected at a time. Okay, so here basically radio buttons are selectable buttons. So here type radio, so this is basically a button. So id is equal to yes, name is equal to the first name, id equals to no. Basically it is pre-selected button. Maybe below your legend add a label element and add a label element with a text yes for attribute yes opinion. Okay, so here is the label, so I'm gonna copy this, I'm just gonna add this here, paste, and inside the label it says that element with the text yes and for yes option. So I'm gonna copy this, copy, paste it here, paste, and we already have the yes here, so good to go. Okay, name attribute. Okay, so it has to be, it also has a name attribute, so inside the label. So I'm just going to copy the name attribute from here. I'm gonna do the name attribute here. Okay, name attribute goes here, and inside the name attribute it says the hotel stay, so I'm just going to copy this, and hotel stay goes there, paste. If we check, it still doesn't process, which is weird. Just copy and still doesn't process. Okay, hotel stay. You should have a radio button below the label content. Radio button. Do we don't have a radio button? Type radio. Oh. Okay. 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 Below the label. So paste here. Paste here. Oh. What am I doing here? Copy. It says you should have a radio button below the label. So below the label there goes the radio button, and you below the legend element add a label element. Okay, we added a label element for yes option, and okay. Now add a radio button. We had added a radio button, id set to yes opinion. Okay, so okay, so we don't have to add. So I'm just going to copy this, the id is going to be the same, so I'm going to paste it here, sorry, paste it here. Okay, so for here yes option, id is equal to yes option, everything looks good. Add a radio button with id set to yes option. The name attribute should be hotel stay. Name attribute is hotel stay. Okay, let's copy this, paste it here, and hotel stay is not the attribute for the label, so we don't need a name for the label, I guess. Let's check. What the hell is happening? What the fuck is this? Okay, resume the project. Did we do well? Let me check. Yeah. Below your first radio button and another label element for no option attribute. Okay. So we have to add another label. So I'm just going to copy this label and I'm just going to paste this label here, and this is going to fit no option. So I'm just going to copy this, paste it here. This is for no option, and the label should be no. Okay, no. So copy no. Below the second label, add a radio button. So I'm just going to copy this, paste it. We have also, okay. So, and also we have to add ID no option. I'm just going to copy this, and we have to paste it here. I'm just going to give it a type here. So we had to add ID no option, type equals, and the name attribute hotel stay. Below the second label element, add a radio button. We added a radio button ID is set to no option. We have already no option, and the name attribute set to hotel stay. Okay, everything looks good. Yeah. Step 21. The next section of the form will ask the user to choose the particular hotel. User will have the opportunity of multiple options. Start by adding a field set, and field set element, add a legend and text is. Okay, so here I'm just going to copy this. I'm just going to paste it here, and I'm just going to remove all this stuff. Inside the legend, I'm just going to copy this. I'm going to paste it here. Enter, we pass. Let's hop on to another one. When you want the user to select multiple options from a list, you can use a checkbox. Here is an example of working checkbox. Field set, legend, label for pizza, input type checkbox. Okay, so the value of the attribute specify the value of the center. Okay, below your legend element, add a label. Okay, so label is this. I'm going to copy this. Below your legend, okay, after legend I'm going to add this, and the text is going to be this, social media ads. So I'm just going to copy this. I'm going to paste it here. The for should be ads. Okay, it's going to do ads, and the value below your label element, add a checkbox element. Okay, so checkbox is this. Just to copy this, I'm going to add here checkbox, and it should have an ID, name, attribute sent to ads. Everything should be ads. So I'm going to ads, ID ads, name ads, and value ads. So ads. Enter. Sorry, label your element should have for attribute to ads. For attribute. What? Oh, we missed a quotation here. You should have a checkbox input below the label. Oh, I am dumb. Why I did that? It is a checkbox. Now it is a checkbox. Let's go to 64% complete. Add another label. Okay, so let me add a label here. Now it should contain the text of personal recommendation. I'm going to copy this, paste it here. For attribute should be recommendation. So I'm just going to copy this, paste it here. Now below the label you should add another checkbox input. So checkbox input here, copy this, paste. Now ID and value attribution to recommended. Okay, so we go copy. ID should be recommended, and this is also should be recommendation, and value should be recommendation. Check, correct. Submit. Now next, another label element with a location, a text of location. Okay, another label element. Okay, I think it's gonna be same like this. I'm just gonna copy this, paste. So for the recommendation, I'm just gonna copy location here, copy. This is gonna be location, and here it is gonna be just location. So I'm just gonna copy and pasty here, and just remove this once. Okay. Input field, ID, name, value, all should be location. So location, so copy this. ID should be location, name should be location, value should be location. Everything should be location, location, okay. And below the input, add another label element. How many label elements are there? I'm just going to copy this. There is another label, and text is reputation. I'm just going to copy this. Reputation, paste. And for reputation, just copy this, paste. For a checkbox input, okay. And we also have a checkbox, so I'm just going to copy this. The checkbox input and everything is a reputation, so I'm just going to copy this, and okay, so reputation, reputation, reputation. Congratulations. Okay, we are nearly done with it. 15 minutes left. To make a checkbox input default, we can add check attribute, for example checked. So add a check attribute to a checkbox with ID of reputation. ID of reputation, we have to go checked. Checked. Okay. For the final label and the inputs inside the field set, you add a label element. Okay, you add a label element to the text of this label element. So I'm just going to copy this label, I'm going to paste it label here, and I'm going to inside this field set add a label. Field set. Okay, field set. Where the fuck is field set here? Do we close our field set? Oh, okay. So price, I'm just going to copy this. For is price, so I'm just going to copy this, paste, paste. The checkbox input should have this price. So checkbox, where is the checkbox? This is a checkbox. I'm just going to copy this. I'm just going to paste it somewhere here maybe. Yeah. And now what we have to do is input ID, name, value. Everything should be price. So I'm just going to copy, and this is going to be price. This is going to be price. This is going to be also price, and this is also going to be price. Everything should be price. ID, name, and value should be price. Now our test from selecting a various checkboxes. Yeah, let me check. Can I select this, this, this? Okay. You have a fifth checkbox input below your label. Yeah, I have. What? Oh, maybe it should not be checked. Maybe this is and checked. I have to remove this, I think. Maybe let's check. You have a fifth checkbox input below your label. Okay. So let's reset this lesson. I think something went wrong here. Okay. For the final label, you have inside this is so this is the label. I'm just gonna copy. Okay. Now we have the price here. I'm just gonna copy this. Now we have the paste. We have price. Okay. It says the checkbox input should have ID, it is attribute set to price. So definitely we have to add a checkbox here. I'm just going to copy, and we have added the checkbox. This checked is should be not here, and the type should be price. So I'm just going to copy uh, price, copy, and this should be price. This should be price. This should be price. This should be price. Check. What? You have a fifth checkbox input below your label. Oh, I did the silly mistake again. Fucking. Okay. Why I'm doing these silly fucking mistakes? Okay. Next session. Uh, okay. Now start by adding field set element a legend. Okay. Now we have to add another field set. So I'm just gonna copy the field set. Where is the field set? Here is the field set. So now copy this. I'm just gonna paste it here. I'm just gonna add the legend here. The text is ratings, so I'm going to copy the ratings. I'm just going to paste the ratings here, and the legend should have the ratings. Below the legend, add a label. We have a label, and how to okay, how was the service? So I'm just going to copy how was the service here, and paste it here. And lastly, for attribute should have service. Okay, copy service, paste. Extra things are not needed, so I'm just going to remove them. Congratulations, woohoo. Here is an example of using select an option. Okay, so we have label, we have select, we have option values. We can choose from them. Okay, by selecting okay, start by adding a select. So we have a select here, so I'm going to copy this, copy, we add, we click. Now inside our select, we don't have to add the options as it intends. Now we have to add the name and ID. So ID is basically services, service, service, and name and ID both are service. Okay, just everything is good. Now lastly, we have the drop down menu here, but it doesn't have any options. Now inside your select element, add the option elements with these corresponding option values available. Okay, so here inside this we have option. Okay, option, option here. Now we have our options here. So poor, satisfactory, good, and so opinion option element text. Okay, so what was the syntax here? I forgot it. Inside your select element, add a following option element, these corresponding values for the option text values attribute. Poor, satisfactory, good. So we have the option here. Okay, so let's add poor, satisfactory. So poor, I'm just going to copy this multiple times, copy, and I'm just going to paste it here. Let's copy this, paste it here, copy this, paste it here, copy this, paste it here. So there are 5 options. So the second is satisfactory. Okay, now the third one is good, the fourth one is very good, very, very good. Now we have the excellent, everything looks good. Now option element text, what is option element text? And we also have to add the attribute, value attribute. So okay, let's check this. You should have option element with a value set to poor. Okay, so the value POOR, poor. So to copy this, paste, should be satisfactory, factory, and this should be good and good and very good. So very good, 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 very good, very good, very good. Okay. Good here. Oh, now I understand how it should be. So this is value attributes. So the value are poor, satisfactory, SATIS, FACTORY, good, very good, and lastly excellent. Okay, now this should be poor, so this should be capitalized. This is satisfactory, S is capitalized, good is capitalized, very good, V is capitalized, there is actually a space here, so I'm just going to go as and give it a space, and the G is capitalized here, and for excellent we have E capitalized. Everything looks good. Let's go. Congratulations. Let's go ahead. Submit. If we click on this, we have the options now. Yeah, to make options selected by default, we can add a selected attribute. Okay, so we have to add a select inside of select attribute, excellent. So this is selected. So by default it is excellent. In your hotel feedback form, also give the users ability to rate the food. Okay, start by label, adding a label, and how was the food. Okay, so where the fuck is label? Here is the label. I'm just going to copy this. I'm going to copy the label, I'm going to paste the label here. Inside the label we have the name for ID and how was the food, okay, and for food, okay. Below the label add a select element, where is the select element? Here is the select element. I'm just going to copy this and just gonna paste it here. Select element, ID should be and name should be food, so the name should be food, ID should be also food, FWD food. Now options are not available here, so I'm just going to remove the options. I'm just going to continue like this. Go ahead. Now same thing happens here. I'm just going to copy this options, check, good, let's go. The last section of the form will allow you to provide this, okay. So we have to add another label here. Gonna just copy this and add a label here. Inside our label we have other comments. So I'm just going to copy this and add the other comments here, paste the other comments. Then we have for attributes and we have to add the comments. I'm going to copy this and we have to add the comments and paste here, and we have to go ahead. Now we have to text area. The text area element is a multi-line text input control that allows the user to enter text that is no longer in a single line. It can be used to create comment boxes, a message input, or other text input that requires multiple lines. Here is an example of text area. Okay, so I'm just going to copy the text area here, and the rows attribute used to specify the visible, okay, below the label text area. So I'm just going to add the text area here. We have the text area here. Now next step will be add necessary attributes. We added all the necessary attributes, so I'm just gonna, and we have to become a supporter to remove the instructions and to stop that fucking bear to fly again. I don't want that bear to fly. That bear is stupid. He is gonna fly again, and he flew away. Oh my god, my mind. Your text element add a ID and name attribute with the value comments, okay. For calls attribute we have this, okay. So for text area we have the ID equals this, so comments COMMENTS. Then we have this, and we have the name comments COMMENTS. Okay, everything looks good. For calls attribute we value 30 and the row attribute also. So okay, calls 30, and for rows 30. Oh, not 30, only 10. Okay, 10. Let's check. Okay, we are very close. For the last step in the hotel feedback form, we need to submit button. Okay, remember you have learned the submit button, blah blah blah. Add a button and type yeah. So just we have to add a button. So BUTTON button, and we have to add a button. BUTTON button. Okay, and we have to type it submit equals submit and submit. Okay, let's go, and we are 100% done with this feedback form. Now we can see how it works here. So the age is optional. we can increase the age, and minimum age is 3 here, as we can see. If we see here, yeah, so yeah, inside the input text here, yeah, we have the size required 20. Okay, now we have the email. After the email we have the age, and age, the limitation of age is minimum 3 and maximum 100. Yeah, now we can choose one of these because it's a radio button, and inside the radio button what we did is, if we see the radio button here, yeah, so the legend, it says this, and we have the radio button, and inside the radio button we have the for yes option and for no option, and name is the same, ID is not same, but name is same. If have the same name on the radio button, then it will select one of them at a time. So we can't select both of them because they have the same name here, hotel stay. Now, why did you choose to stay in our hotel? Check all to apply. Social media ads, personal recommendation, blah 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 blah. Okay, yeah, and this is ticked by default. Reputation, if we check here inside our reputation, it's checked by default. So yeah, we can check all of them, then we can apply. Okay, now ratings here, excellent by default, we selected excellent. And how was the food? Excellent by default. And we can add comments like that was a good experience, God experience, and a question, triple question mark, and experience is also spelled wrong because experience was terrible. Now if we submit here, it says please fill your name first. So we are done with this, and we're going to submit this. Submit. Now we are done with this for now on. Now we have to build a survey form. Okay, but not now, we will do it later. Okay, we'll do it later. For now on, that's how I'm just gonna close the stream now.